I would love to know what inspired you to collaborate with Gucci Man on this book.
Well, 2 years ago, Gucci hit me and said he wanted to do this book that at first served as like a manual, right? You know, he had survived the fire, right? And he wanted to share what he learned.
Yeah.
I think it got bigger. The mission got bigger as, unfortunately, through the process, he started losing more people. And that's the crazy part. Like, two things, like, you know, he lost Big Scar, may he rest. You know, Quan, Scooter, like all these people were passing away as we're making this book, right? For one reason or another. Right. But that's an emotional and mental toll.
Yeah, yes.
I got my book deal within a month of learning my mom was diagnosed with cancer. So through the duration of writing the book, I had to deal with her treatments. And when I turned in the book, she passed away a month later. So through that, there were certain parts that warranted my voice and my autobiographical sense into it, right? Yeah. So I see a lot of this discourse where a lot of times journalists will come and be like, I don't know who any of these people are on the freshman list. And I'm like, well, I coached most of them and the rest are my kids are fans of. So I know exactly who everybody is. So, and it's also like, that's not a flex to not know who people are, right? Don't force anonymity on people because you haven't Googled.
What's good, everybody? It's your guy, JoJo Simmons, and welcome back to the For Good podcast, where we focus on the good, never the bad, and we're measured by what we do, not what we have. Today, I have Kathy Iandoli. Is one of hip-hop's most respected voices, an author, journalist, and storyteller who's chronicled the culture for over 2 decades. She's written for Rolling Stone, Billboard, and The Source, and authored God Save the Queens and Baby Girl, better known as Aaliyah. Now she's back with episodes, The Diary of Recovering Madman, co-written with Gucci Man, a project about transformation, recovery, and purpose. Let's get into it. What's up, Kathy?
Great. Hello, JoJo. How are you?
I'm well. I appreciate you coming on to the For Good podcast. I know you've been super busy promoting this up-and-coming book with Gucci Man. I know you've had hundreds of interviews, so for you to stop by on this one, we appreciate it. So thank you so much, Kathy.
No, thank you for having me.
Let's jump right into it. So for those who may not know you personally, can you introduce yourself and share a little bit about the work that you do?
Sure. Well, my name is Kathy Iandoli. I've been working in hip hop for about like almost 30 years now in different capacities. Started out working with the Roots back in like 99. Well, at first I started working at a record store, but then after that I was working with the Roots. About a year later, I started writing hip hop journalism, and I did that for quite a long time. Got started at first like doing research and things like that with books before actually writing them. And in between all of that, I was also, or am also, a media coach to a lot of the top hip hop artists that are out today, and also an NYU professor and proud graduate from the program. So, and also do documentaries. My documentary that I co-produced, Ladies First, was on Netflix and got some awards for that. So, yeah, been keeping busy.
I mean, I see you keep on going and going. I feel like you got more to add, but you just named the most recent and biggest things probably because it seems like you've been working. So you spend years documenting hip hop culture. What first pulled you towards storytelling in this space?
You know, it's funny because I entered into journalism at what I like to call like the death rattle, where print and digital were kind of doing that flip, right? And, you know, I was lucky, I am still lucky, that I was able to be a part of a time where the storytelling kind of still mattered, right? Where the value of a story wasn't measured by how many views and clicks and the headline of it all. So really where this originated from was my losing interest in the virality of it all and not wanting to do something that would make the story viral but not bring attention to the artist's story. So, and I've always been artist first, you know.
Right.
The my first mentor in the game was Questlove. So
Okay.
I didn't want to go into a situation as a writer, as a storyteller, where I felt like I was not allowing the artist to tell their story, because I think what happens, especially in the media landscape, is we forget that we're talking about human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really where the heart of where my storytelling really began, is just basically, I feel like failing at journalism is what brought me to this part of my career.
I hear that, but I love that you really you double down on telling the artist's story, because I think nowadays with artists it's looking for the virability, but we don't know about that artist. We know the song,
Right.
we know the quick little hit they made, but the storytelling has lost its form in a sense, right? But you find that these huge artists, these stadium artists, let's say a Kendrick or a Drake, have a story. Those are the ones that stick around for a long time, right? Because those are the
Yeah.
ones that you've watched them from day one all the way to now, and you see where they came. So that's why I try to say that, the importance of storytelling for an artist is almost as important as the music that they put out, because people need something to relate to. They need a story to be inspired by. And I think that it is a lost form. So I love the fact that you said, hey, man, like I wanted to make sure that these artists we're getting the story out, because they're human beings. They're not just people that go in the studio and make music for our enjoyment, but they're people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the thing when, in the absence of the storytelling, we place way too much of an emphasis on picking apart the music too.
Yeah.
Everybody's a critic right now,
Yeah.
and
Even
that's
the
also
wrong
something,
even the people
right?
that shouldn't be critiquing in certain spaces that they don't even know about, right? I think
A
you know,
hundred
the
percent.
truth on that, like there's people that have no education on hip hop, or not. Let's not even just talk about hip hop, but if we're talking about hip hop, there's
Yeah,
so many people that are uneducated on the art form, on the history of it, but have so much to say about what it is today and where it's going, and it's like you don't even know where it came from. So how can you
hundred
tell me
percent.
where it's going? How can you critique an artist if you don't even understand that art is a subjective form anyway? So like it's just a lot. We can get deep on that,
I
but
know, right?
I'm gonna jump into this next question because you've helped shape how people see hip hop in a sense. But
Yeah.
when did you realize your own story was just as worth telling?
Wow, that's a good question. I come from a generation of writers where we're meant to be read and not seen.
Yeah.
The whole idea of jumping into the spotlight to try to like be a part of the thing was not something that particularly interested me, because I was supposed to be the fly in the wall. But it was during the writing of my first book, God Save the Queens, where my story kind of had to take shape in a sense. I got my book deal within a month of learning my mom was diagnosed with cancer. So through the duration of writing the book, I had to deal with her treatments. And when I turned in the book, she passed away a month later. So through that, there were certain parts that warranted my voice and my autobiographical sense into it, because there was like this really important moment in the book writing process where, when I was speaking to Megan Thee Stallion, we both lost our moms a month apart. And we were both in this moment because she had released Tina Snow, I had just learned she was going to be on the freshman list, like behind the scenes, right? And we were on this call, and we said like we weren't like, one of the things was like I was totally not going to get on that call and start talking about her mom. Like that's one thing, rule number one, and through the grieving process is don't bring up what people don't want to talk about. But Meg brought it up because I offered my condolences. I explained to her the situation that happened with me, and she was like, "What do we do? Like, where do we go from here?" And I was like, "You know what? I have no clue." And she's like, "I guess we just got to keep going." Because we were both, it was raw. Like, the fact that even Meg talked to me was just the kindest thing she could have done for a book that she didn't know where it was going, right? So in that moment, I kind of knew it was a good idea to weave some of these experiences in. But then on top of all that, getting to catch up with pioneers, artists who were big during the golden era, and doing this thing where I would meet with them in person, we'd go to lunch, we'd have these conversations. Some of it really, there were certain people we hadn't spoken to in decades. So you want to give the reader some context as to what this person is like at that time, right? When I was making the book between 2018 and 2019. So in order to do that, I had to introduce my eyes into the story too, which then obviously leads to you putting the rest of yourself in different parts. Right. So, I did do that in little parts. I wasn't really comfortable with it because that's new territory for me. But as long as I was able to be the conductor to something greater that involved the artist, then that's when I would insert myself. Other than that, I was like, I'm not hanging out in the pages.
I hear that. I love that. Now, I know that, you got started teaching at NYU. I want to know what drew you to work with students in music business and writing.
So when I went to NYU for grad school a few decades ago, I didn't see myself in the program, right? I had been working in hip hop for a long time. The concept of getting a master's really meant something to me. I really wanted to do that. And knowing that NYU had this music business program, I thought that was incredible. But the representation of hip hop just wasn't there, right? The hip hop kids, the kids who even like to write about music and considering that to be a viable part of the music business. I just didn't see it. So after graduating, I knew I was going to come back. My mom was a professor as well. Like I knew I was going to walk in those footsteps in one way or another. But what I did was like when I walked in as a professor, I started as a professor in residence through one of their undergrad courses that we do called Village Records. But I started to develop courses, one of which was called Writing in the Music Industry, because I feel like we need to show students how to write about music. And that's not just on the journalism side. You need to go into your marketing meetings and know how to articulate something that someone hasn't yet listened to. Yeah. Right? So that was a huge reason. And then also just working in bringing more of a hip hop visibility to the campus. All of those things were really important to me because it's like, bringing the things that you wish you had when you were there.
Yeah. So what do you enjoy most about teaching? How does it influence the way you approach your own work?
My gosh, they keep me young. Like, I feel like, learning about, it's, there's this interesting thing that happens being the media coach to all the top hip hop artists that are coming out right now, and then being in classrooms with the kids who are the fans of these artists, right? It gives you a very interesting representation of where we're at in the music industry right now that I wouldn't have had if I didn't work with those age groups, right? So I see a lot of this discourse where a lot of times journalists will come and be like, I don't know who any of these people are on the freshman list. And I'm like, well, I coach most of them and the rest are my kids are fans of. So I know exactly who everybody is. So, and it's also like, that's not a flex to not know who people are, right? Don't force anonymity on people because you haven't Googled. Right. So for me, it's a really good feeling to be able to like stay current, but not in this way where I'm like trying to hit the club with them. Right.
I agree. I'm one of those guys, right, where I do see that list and be like, I don't know any of these guys. But on the flip side, I will go look up each and every one of them. Sometimes I won't walk out a fan of them. Sometimes I will walk out a fan. It doesn't matter. That's not the point. The point is understanding who they are and why they're in that position, right? So yeah, I definitely get I don't know who any of these guys are. So I commend you for, like, obviously you coach them, you're in the game with them, but like, you know who they are, and that matters, that matters, especially, in our age as we get older, and where the YNs don't really rock with us as much, but but we get it. So, and speaking about students and you coaching and them being fans of the artists you work with, I wanted to start discussing this episode's The Diary of a Recovering Madman, that this book coming out with Gucci Mane. Big fan of Gucci, always been a big fan of Gucci, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
But I would love to know what inspired you to collaborate with Gucci Mane on this book.
Well, man, like 2 years ago, Gucci hit me and said he wanted to do this book that at first served as like a manual, right? You know, he had survived the fire, right? And he wanted to share what he learned.
Yeah.
I think it got bigger. The mission got bigger as, unfortunately, through the process, he started losing more people. And that's the crazy part. Like, two things like, you know, he lost Big Scar, may he rest. You know, Quan, Scooter, like all these people were passing away as we're making this book, right? For one reason or another.
Right.
But that's an emotional and mental toll.
Yeah, yes.
So when I first wanted to work, when I first was approached by this and wanted to work on it, I think the mission was there,
Right.
but it only got like bigger
Right.
as it evolved. And I think now this product, like when Gucci first said it, he said, I said to him, I was like, so what's the mission that you want to do? He's like, I just want to save somebody's life. He's like, if I could save one person, he's like, then I know I did the job. I just want to save one person.
I love that you're close to Gucci and he talks to you like that, because growing up a Gucci fan and knowing Gucci, we don't see that side of him. We don't see him think, I just want to save somebody's life. We see him going on verses and doing the petty things. We see him, being crazy. He's been crazy his whole life. Obviously came out of jail, very reformed, very different, very focused, but still crazy Gucci. So like even the title feels so powerful, Recovering Madman. What does that mean to you after working so closely on this project with him? Like, is he a madman? Like, what does that title mean to you working with him so closely?
One thing that I'll say is I think when people read this book, they'll feel a lot worse for how they felt about him and viewed his behaviors during his most vulnerable times.
Yep.
I think that's really what it comes down to, because there were times where we as an industry there were clear signs that he needed help.
Yes.
But he was making people money, so nobody helped. And I think this project sheds a lot of light on the things that we often miss throughout history, when an artist is in distress, but they're monetizing.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's alive to tell it is probably the biggest gift, because any other person that I can think of where the similar thing has happened is no longer with us.
Right.
So he was able to survive. It's almost like when you get when you read those like stories or hear about people who say, I just got back from heaven. Like he's able to, his life was a near-death experience. So he's able to, it's like he came back from the dead and talked about where he was at, because there was a period of time where he felt completely numb. So that he can come back full of life and tell this whole story is a gift that we've never had. Because all of the artists that we have visibly abused in the media, have watched crumble, suffer from addiction, mental health issues, they did not get out alive. And he did, thank God.
Yeah, me being in the mental health space and love being vulnerable, I've always knew Gucci looked like he needed help, right? People don't lash out. People don't just act out. People don't just do things that are attention grabbing unless they need help. And yeah, I understand he was monetizing for people. So people were like, stay the way you are because this is what's making you a star. But internally, it was breaking him down personally of who he was. So even I love that, like, I'm getting this side of Gucci from you because he just seems like such an interesting dude. So I'd love to know, like, what was the most surprising thing about Gucci while writing this? Like, what did he surprise you at all with anything while writing this book during the writing process?
Well, I always knew Gucci was super smart. I just didn't know how smart.
Oh, I could tell. I could tell he's a smart
guy.
Guy.
I knew he was smart, but like Gucci reads so many books. And I'm just like, I can't catch up to the number of books that he reads.
I love it.
And he'll be like telling me about certain books. Yeah, you should pick this one up. I'm like, I look at my bookshelf and it's just like, they just keep going and going. And I'm like, one day I'll get to you. He reads so much. And I think that that's really cool because he reads about anything and everything. Like he just loves taking in information. And it's funny because like, we'll be having some conversations and he'll just be like, yeah, this reminds me of this book I read where such and such. And I was like, how do you find the time? Because he's still recording. He's being a dad. He's being a husband. He's performing and doing this. And I'm like, I can't even get my act together to cook an egg. And you're out here reading books like nonstop. And I'm talking about several books in a month.
That's really cool. I gotta get the Gucci Man book list if he's ever willing to share it with me. I gotta get.
Yeah, he should. He should do that. He should.
I'd love to get him up here one day. I know that he's probably running around, but love to speak to him one day for sure. So his book, in the book that you guys are writing, it digs into transformation and recovery.
Yeah.
What did the process teach you about healing and growth?
Oof. It's nonlinear. And when you think you're recovered or healed, or the word you're never supposed to really say is cured, you can always relapse, right? Even if it's against your will, or even if it's something you don't cause. And you have to have really strong, a strong resolve to really want to get better.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you are someone who is famous for their personality, sometimes people worry about what your personality will be like once you've healed. It reminds me, I don't know if people watched Friends, but there was this character on the show Friends called Fun Bobby, and he was the life of the party, and then he was sober. He went sober, and he would show up to the parties, and he's like, "Hey guys," and everyone's like, "What happened to Fun Bobby?" It's like that kind of thing. You don't know what your healed personality is gonna look like.
That's deep.
And I think that's also a lot of reasons why so many people will continue to self-medicate to be the person that everybody has gravitated towards. But for Gucci, this guy, I feel, is the Gucci 2.0. He outshines any iteration of Gucci.
I love that. We spoke about a little bit how the music industry can be relentless, especially for Gucci early on. How have you though protected your mental health through the ups and downs of the music industry?
Oof. I mean, being a woman in the music industry has not been easy over the decades. It's definitely been kind of this rat race of making sure I knew all of the information that had to be any part of an album so that you don't make people think you're there for any other reason. Right. And I entered in at in the era where we didn't flag behaviors, right? And I did come in at an era where I would come to an artist and say, "Hey, I love the album," and they would purposely be like, "Which producer, which line, which song?"
Ooh, yeah.
Quizzing me. But the next dude comes in and it's a bro and secret handshake and shit, right? So I think that when we tell people, and this goes beyond just women, but when we tell people this industry makes you need a thick skin, right? Mm-hmm. We don't tell them what can happen under the skin, right?
A lot of bruises and scars.
A lot of bruises and scars. And also, because this industry constantly evolves, people get laid off, people get replaced, right? And you're constantly told it's a young man's game. And I'm neither young nor a man, right? So the idea of thinking that I have to work overtime and continuously say yes, because if I say no, I will get replaced, even if I've been doing something consistently, right? That pressure and that stress has definitely led to me having to hit a hard pause sometimes and being like, listen, you just have to have faith that your no will still be a yes down the road. You can't say yes if it's going to cost you your mental health. And I did have to realize that during the time. I mean, I'm still learning that lesson, but I did have to learn it when I was just first in the stages of grief with my mom.
Mm-hmm. So you talk about, you just said sometimes you have to take a hard pause. And as a writer who deals with, emotional and deep stories, how do you decompress or refill your cup?
I've started to use frequencies. right? Like listening to different frequencies.
I hear that a lot. I gotta
Yeah.
get into that. I gotta get
I
into.
would I would definitely recommend it. Obviously use headphones, but
Yep.
you can find them all over on different DSPs. They have a lot of these frequencies now. I go to bed listening to frequencies. I
Okay.
used to go to bed listening to like crime docs, and I'm like, no wonder you wake up
Ah.
like in a constant state of turmoil. And they Harmony Korine, who talks in the book, talks about that because Gucci used to like rest by watching films where people were shooting guns, and Harmony's like, this puts you at ease. He talks about that in the book. But I think it's just the re-stimulation of the brain. Like I got like there's times where you just got to turn it off. I'm the worst meditator, but I'm trying.
I like to meditate. I'm pretty good at it.
Really? Well,
My dad did it a lot growing up, so
yeah.
something I saw, something I follow.
That's it's gotta be. It's like the biggest gift, and it's
It's
still
it's
something I need. You need to give me some pointers because
I
I'll
got
just
you.
be
You just gotta
yeah.
find a quiet space where you feel safe and just sit there and just close your eyes. Or meditation isn't always quiet. You can put on music in the background. You could, as long as you stop thinking about everything else and just let it flow. Just let it flow and just try not to think, and whatever comes up comes up. Like that's how I meditate. I get into a quiet room, and sometimes I just close my eyes and I just sit there 20 minutes and I just let it flow. I let go of all of the pressures of the world and I just meditate. And that could be thinking about my family, that could be thinking about anything, but I try not to think about anything and I just let it flow. You know what I mean? I try not to think about the hard things. I just let my mind go, and usually I come out feeling so much better and decompressed. But that's how I meditate. And there's more ways and steps, but
Yeah.
that's how I like to meditate for sure.
Do you meditate daily?
Yes, I meditate. I like to
Wow.
meditate in the morning before my loud kids wake up, and my wife
Yeah.
asks me to run errands and do all these other things. So yes, I like to wake up and come in my office, and sometimes it's got a real smooth music in the background on the speaker, or sometimes it's just completely quiet, and I'm just sitting
Wow.
in the chair, and I'm just like, all right, cool. I have quiet to do it, right? So yeah, I do it every morning. I do it
I'm
every.
gonna try that.
Yeah, it's good to start your day off like that. It really helps your energy for the day where you can, I can go upstairs and be ready to deal with the yelling kids and the wife that may be overwhelmed and able to sit there and be like, it's okay, babe. Let's calm down. We're gonna figure this out together. Why? Because I
Right.
meditated. I'm at peace with myself. I found peace
Mm.
before I walked upstairs and found chaos, right? So
Before you
I
found
peace in
chaos.
chaos and I'm able to bring that chaos down to my level, right? You know what I mean? So that's why I
I
like,
love that.
yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I take nature walks. I go to the gym.
Mhm. Me too. I
Things
love
like
the gym.
that.
Love the
Yeah.
gym. I love the gym. I do take walks. My wife and I have taken up running. We're doing a 5K next week together.
Oh,
So yeah,
cool.
she forced me into it, but I love it. I love doing things with her, and it's relationship building, and it keeps us close to feel like she feels I'm supporting her, and obviously I want to do it too. So it's gonna be great. Like we got into
Oh,
running
I
together.
love that. I
That's
love
been
that.
good. Yep. Um. So what do you think the hip hop community still gets wrong when it comes to mental health and vulnerability as we speak about meditating and mental health and being
Oof.
vulnerable? Like, what do you think hip hop is missing? You know what I mean? How do you think they get it wrong? Because it's very much a needed subject in hip hop, especially.
Um, I believe that it boils down to the therapeutic aspect of it.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's enough of a conversation around therapy, right? Artists will make entire albums about mental health issues, and people can listen and resonate, but there's no resolution,
Yeah.
and there's no modalities that they put in place to get past it, which again leads to the question of, is there a pressure to stay in that space because it's what gets the music going, the fans going, the money going, right? Like there's no emphasis on healing.
There isn't, and that's why I touch on it so much on this show, and I touch on it so much because, especially in the hip hop space, and I can say it in the black community, really,
Yeah.
it's something that needs to be spoken about more. We need to have more vulnerable people. We need to have more people
Mm-hmm.
saying we need to get a therapist. We need to have more people saying, hey, it's okay to talk to somebody. Because what the
Yeah.
problem is, a lot of these rappers and a lot of these guys and women, guys, whoever, they bottle up all their emotions. They bottle up how they feel. And
Yeah.
then when it comes out in an irate way. It comes out in a violent way. It comes out in an angry way. It comes out in an overwhelming way. But it doesn't come out in a way where you can responsibly
Mm-hmm.
um, decompress. It doesn't come out in a way where you can freely decompress. It doesn't come out in a way where you can feel free from those emotions. They just bottle them up,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I think in hip hop there needs to be a space. I think where they get it wrong, my opinion, in hip hop when it comes to mental health is thinking there's something wrong with people when you talk
Yeah.
about mental health. Like, yes, there's been more of an opening of people saying, "Oh no, this is a real thing. We need it." But then I still see some of those rappers say, "Well, I don't like this new, healing, era where everybody's healed." It's like,
Right.
you need to be healed, my brother. Like, you're running from
Right.
being healed, but being healed is probably the most at peace you'll ever be when you can find yourself and heal yourself. And I know you say don't use the word heal because you never truly heal. Yes, you can relapse, but being aware of
Mm-hmm.
being aware of understanding your faults and understanding what you've been dealing with all these
Mm-hmm.
years is all I ask people to do. Be aware.
Yeah.
Be aware.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be oblivious to your mental health. Don't be oblivious to what is going on in your mind because
Mm-hmm.
that's when you crash out. Everybody likes using that term crash out. Well, that's how we get crash outs. Is when people don't
Yeah.
talk about their problems. You know what I mean? And that's how I feel the hip hop community does it wrong. Um, when your motivation or discipline fades, what helps you reconnect to your purpose?
It usually involves either working with an artist or talking to a student and hearing where they're at. That usually motivates me. I get a lot of motivation when I talk to the younger artists that I coach. Like, I
I would
love
actually
doing
say that.
that.
I would feel that you would say that, like working
Yeah.
with the students and the younger artists, definitely motivation because most of them are coming from a stance of I want to make it or I'm trying to make it,
Mm-hmm.
and they have this drive and this motivation and this purpose that
Yeah.
almost gives you purpose in a sense, right?
100%. And like, I had been media coaching for a long time, but it hit its peak during the pandemic because record labels were signing so many artists during quarantine.
Yeah.
And the thing was, their record deals, they were signing their contracts on Zoom. Some people had their cameras off. There was probably an intern like there instead. There was no champagne toast. All of the bells and whistles of what someone looked at as their fantasy deal
Was taken away.
was taken away. So then you take them from that. And also, these are artists who are hanging out on SoundCloud for the greater part of their career. So there's a lot of social anxiety because they weren't outside to begin with. Now you're throwing them outside once we all went outside. Then you're trying to put them on stages and you're trying to put them in interviews and you're wondering why they're failing. And it's like because first of all, you've never introduced them to this side of the game because you never celebrated them really for their hard work, right? So they didn't get the champagne toast. They didn't get the pat on the back. They didn't get the you're going to go very far. It was congratulations. Can we just watch you sign on camera? Thank you. So when they get to me, they don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. They don't know how to feel. And, and it's not something that I'm like, yes, I know I did it. But like when my artists like cry during their coaching, I feel like I'm like, you were holding that in. And there's a lot of artists. Yeah. And there's a lot of artists that are like, what was that? I'm sorry.
Crying is a good thing. You did do it.
Yes. But that it makes me happy because if they can say out loud, why do I have to talk to this person in the press who's going to make me feel bad when I already feel bad because I don't feel like I'm being treated like this valuable artist on this roster. So if they don't feel valued by their label because the celebratory aspect, some people might be like, oh, boo-hoo, but it means something.
Yeah.
Imagine taking ballet, jazz, or tap classes and never having your recital. You just keep going, just keep having to learn. No, playing sports and never having your Olympics, never having your World Series. You're just going and breaking bones and hurting yourself and never getting to the celebratory aspect. Yeah. So they don't feel good about themselves. So you're posturing arrogance. Meanwhile, you're upset. And then you put them in front of these new media personalities whose only goal is for themselves to get more famous. And who's really winning here? So of course they're going to go in there and act like they don't care. Of course they're going to go in and fly off the rails and say some stuff because they've been bottling all this stuff up, and it's the first time somebody's asking them a question. Because the labels don't sit down. There is not, I know there's some really good people at labels, but like in general, people don't sit down and say to an artist, how are you feeling about all this? And that's the first thing I say to them. How are you feeling about all of this? And there are times where I will do that. There's this ongoing joke. They call me the rap whisperer because when I get in my sessions, the first thing I say is, how are you feeling about this? You just became famous. How do you feel? And I will tell you, it's not frequent, but there's times where they will just burst into tears. So it's like...
They trust you.
Well, they just haven't been asked how they are.
Yeah, and when you ask somebody that trust barrier is broken because now they can trust you because, like you said, nobody asked them that. So that one person that will ask them that is basically saying, you're safe here because I'm asking you, how do you feel? Instead of, what do you need? How do you feel?
Yeah.
You know
or what do we need?
What do we need?
Know?
Right. It's a very important question for anybody, honestly, in this world. So I can understand why they would break down in tears because nobody has asked them that.
Yeah, and it's that's one of the things that like just really is like the gut punch sometimes where you're just like, oh man. And it's always little tinies. Like these are younger kids. Like this is the next generation. Yeah. Like and we're, you could throw dollars upon dollars at people. But if you're not healing their broken heart, what's the point?
Yeah, I agree. So as we come to the end, I got about 2 more questions for you. This has really been amazing. I love how you work with these young artists and obviously working with a legend like Gucci, man. And you've been all over the place and I'm loving it. But, I love to know, like, is there anything else you have going on right now besides the book and besides teaching at NYU? Like, are there any projects or initiatives people should know about?
There's a couple of things that can't really be spoken about just yet, but I do want to mention, last year what I did was I made a record journal called Get Your Mind Right, and that's WRITE, and it's made of prompts that I used in my sessions with my artists, set to the theme of hip hop. And what I've been doing is I've been traveling and doing these write-ins where people will be able to write their feelings and write their soundtracks and music that gets them through certain things and just getting their feelings out. So I've done that on a university level. I've done corporate events. I send the book to all my artists, like the journal, so that they're able to kind of use it because it's for them. It was made for them because sometimes when you ask an artist a certain question and they can't get it out, I'm like, so give me a song that represents it. Sometimes it's their own song, sometimes it's not. So I've been really pushing that and bringing that out to the surface. Working with Eve again, we released her memoir, Who's That Girl, last year. Got some cool stuff coming up with Eve and really just, trying to figure out like new ways to reinvent the wheel in this, but in a good way, right? Like we're, the best thing that you can possibly do in this world is in hip hop and I guess in the world in general is to just make it better and not make it worse because there are so many positions and there are things in place that are already actively making it worse. Yeah. So we could take some of that off and add a little levity to the situation. I think that's like the best case scenario right now.
Facts. And finally, as the artist whisperer, the rap whisperer, the whisperer of the artist, I'd love to ask you a question for any artist watching now or any person watching. What advice would you give them for a mindset shift if they're just feeling down or they're just not feeling good or just not feeling right or they just their mental health's just not in it? What advice would you give? I'm on a call with you. We're all on a call with you right now. Give us one piece of advice you would give an artist that's on a call with you.
Say it out loud. Because I can guarantee you there is somebody in the room who's going to care. And even if you felt like previously, maybe the team that you came in with doesn't care about this, say it out loud to the people who have to work with you on a fairly regular basis. Just say it out loud. Because also, if you act up, something happens, you have let everyone know. Because not a lot, people are not mind readers. You can't always tell when someone's in distress. You can't always tell when someone's depressed, stressed, addicted. What you don't have to. I mean, so a lot of people struggle with saying out loud, "I'm addicted." But the other stuff, if you're feeling a certain way, you gotta say it out loud because sometimes people just aren't mind readers, and I guarantee you, somebody is willing to help. Because I do believe there's still good people out there, and if there's a cry for help, somebody is gonna listen.
So that's the main thing. I think the main thing is communication. Communicate to people
Yes.
how you're feeling and in that time, in that present moment, because as you bottle it up, it'll only get worse. It'll only, bottle up, and then you really won't. Like they say, closed mouths don't get fed, and that is a true statement. So
Yeah.
you got to speak up. So let's close it out. You said that you know all the up and coming rappers and obviously the older rappers, and I told you as I look at these XXL freshman lists and all that, I don't really know a lot of these people. Could you give us a little Kathy on the radar? Who's up and coming? Who we should be looking out for? And what artists we should truly be looking out for? Like, where's the talent? What's the new artist? We love to hear what's coming up.
So, I mean, some of these artists are already kind of killing it, but I just love them dearly for different reasons, and some aren't even my clients or anything like that. But Anicia, like, I love Anicia so
No, her
much.
dad.
Do you?
Yeah,
That's
Scott,
amazing.
yeah, that's my guy. Yeah.
Mona Leo, obviously. Mona Leo has her project coming. I'm a big fan of Ian. I think he's smooth. I do. This is not quite hip hop, but hip hop skewed is Sailor. Definitely. And there's an R&B artist that has another project coming out named Jamin, but it's like JVVMN,
I
who's like
love R&B.
really,
I'm
yeah.
checking it. Yeah.
Jamin and Noble Woods is another one artist who's R&B. Gabriel Jacoby is another R&B artist. I'm really I'm loving the fusion of the hip hop and R&B in a way that's like not so overt, but it's like that smooth, like you could tell that the R&B singer listened to a lot of rap.
Yeah,
Those are the artists that I'm feeling now. Yeah.
I love almost like a Bryson Tiller, but with
Yeah.
because that's how I loved how Bryson came out with Trap Soul. It kind of really meshed R&B and hip hop. And speaking of Bryson, was one of the first artists I really kind of discovered. So like it was I love watching his success. And as you speak about R&B and rap, it just brings me back to like he kind of like really did that, meshed that really well. So I really would love to check out all those artists you named. I know my listeners are checking out from. I'm sure we'll have a list for them in the in the bio. But yeah, no, I appreciate that. We definitely have to tap in with those artists. You name mainly R&B artists, but we're gonna check out those rap
I know.
artists.
I rock with the girlies on the hip hop side. Like
I mean,
I'm
they're
really
killing it.
I'm so excited for like
All the
what's
girls are
happening.
the stars. All the girls are the stars.
Killing it.
They've been killing it for the last 2 years, I think, maybe 3. So
Yeah.
like, and I said this to my friend the other day. I said, the girlies got it. I said the females, they have the hit records. They're killing. They got the bars right now. They got the story. They have the look. I said, I said. Meanwhile, the men are fighting over other shit, and the women are just trying to get this music out. So I definitely
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, that's because they've never been given the opportunity to be comfortable. So because of that, they always have to keep working and keep reinventing. And
Yeah, I feel like the female rapper was always looked at like not the sidekick, but like, oh, that's cute. Like this woman can rap and like she can keep up with the boys. But I don't think it's that anymore. I think it's they have their own lane and these boys better keep up with them. That's what I see.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The novelty is gone. Now it's no longer like you're good for a girl. No, you're just good.
You're just good. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kathy. That was great. This has been an amazing interview. You are an amazing person. As
Thank
the
you, JoJo.
Italian woman in the rap world out here killing it, out here working with Gucci Man and everybody under the sun and EVE and all these great people. Like, you are truly a trailblazer. Keep on trailblazing. Keep on killing it. I'm gonna give you your flowers for everything
Thank
that
you,
you've done when
JoJo.
it comes to the community that I was raised in hip hop. Obviously, being a son of Run and raised in hip hop my whole life. So people like you are very important for artists to speak to, for artists to feel vulnerable, for artists to feel safe, heard, seen. So thank you so much, Kathy. As we close this out, can you let everybody know where to find you if they need to find you anywhere? Any Instagram, Twitters, Facebooks, anything?
Yeah, but I want to say shout out to you for doing this, because this is what you're doing is beautiful. As someone, you have been in hip hop forever, and you giving back in this way, I think is special too. So I just want to make sure that I say that out loud before I shout my Instagram.
Of course,
but thank you for what you're doing. This is amazing.
Thank you.
You can find me at Kath 3000 across everything. KATH 3000.
Did Andre 3000 approve that? I'm just kidding.
Let's hope so. I mean, we both share a last name, clearly.
That's dope. Well, everybody, this is the For Good podcast, and we're heading out with my girl Kathy Iandoli, where we focus on the good, never the bad, and we measure by what we do, not what we have. Checking out till next time. It's your guy JoJo. Peace.